Hi. So this is episode 13 of season 2 of This Sacrosanct Life. And it is going to be the last episode of This Sacrosanct Life. And in this episode, I'm going to explain why, and I'm going to share a little bit of my future plans and kind of where I go from here, the evolution of a manifesting generator in embodiment. If that is interesting to you, I think you'll get a lot out of it anyway. So where do I start? I'm going to start with, over the last 2 seasons of This Sacrosanct Life, we've really looked at what it means to prioritize your values and to live them and to embody them and to say what is important to you and to live what is important to you, and the different things that my guests and I have shared that are important to us and the ways in which we center those things in our life. And for me, underpinning all of that is always the value filter, because it is your compass and it is the way into living a life which is full of the things that really matter to you and enable you to see your own success lived out in front of you, knowing that the things that you want to experience, and not just the kind of tangible, not even the kind of have things, right? But the do and the be things. And any of you who've done any life coaching training or kind of wheel of life stuff or anything around be, do, have, who do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to have? Really probably understand that the reason that we do it this way around rather than the other way around. So a lot of society makes goals based on, what do you want to have? And then what do you need to do in order to get it? And who do you need to be in order to do that? And that way around is inside out, it's back to front, and it's focused on head alignment or societal things that you might want, right? Like, particularly those of you in human design who have an open head, it's other people's ideas of success or success markers. And so when we start with the things that we want to have, they can be out of alignment for us, or we would need to be quite disembodied often to achieve them or to get them. But when we start from, who do I want to be? And what does the person that is that do? And what are the outcomes of that being and doing? Then we end up with goals and outcomes and a life that is full of the things that we truly value and know that they are ours, right? That they come from our soul desire, that they are the things that are in alignment for us, and that they are a great expression of what it means to be us as human beings. And so many people kind of come into my world when they aren't feeling empowered, where they're feeling disempowered in some way, where they're feeling like their power is not with them, their energy is not with them, their sense of self is not with them, their decision making is not with them, right? So returning your empowerment to yourself is to become is inner self leadership, is to become self-sovereign, is to become your own authority. And then the next step on that journey, and another part of all of my work and the things that we have been discussing on this podcast over the last 2 seasons, is really around the embodiment of that, right? Like, how do you get to live that on a day-to-day basis? Where in your body do you feel it? How does that show up for you? What does it feel like in your body to be living in alignment, to be living your value filter out loud? And how does it feel to be disconnected from that? And what are the things that you can do to reconnect with your body, with your power, with your purpose, and claim who you truly are and what you get to experience as a body here, and become more present in yourself and less in your head? We are moving from a paradigm of mastering the material plane and surviving into a time or a paradigm of mastering the energetic plane and really thriving and being fully resourced as a collective. And that means moving out of a paradigm where the rich are richer and the poor are poor, right? Because we are all one, because we are connected. And when one of us hurts, all of us hurts. When one of us has nothing, all of us have nothing. And so we are moving into this paradigm of collective thriving, which means that we get to master the energetic plane, which means really understanding and coming back into our bodies and understanding what is ours and what is others, and understanding that we have a choice about whether or not we want to support others or caregive others, and that we have much more of a choice around that when we're fully resourced, because actually we are designed to co-create and to be interdependent and to love and get joy from supporting one another in community, rather than being isolated head brains that are full of logic and have no emotion and have no feeling. You know, we incarnated to have a physical and emotional human experience and express our uniqueness, our understanding and experience of that for the greatest and highest good of all humanity and the expansion of all. And so the point of being human, your purpose in life, is to be in your value filter, which is in alignment, because your value filter is a compass. It's an alignment tool, and it enables you to see where you are and what you are made of in any given moment. And then to share from your unique perspective, experience, and position, which will spark and generate things for other people and allow you to be magnetic and or be recognized and or experience peace and or be successful, right? Like we have these different ways of interacting with each other. And one of the reasons that I really love integrating human design into this kind of energetic and embodied work that I do, you know, previously with the multiple brain integration technique work that I do, and all of the shamanic and plant medicine and otherworldly, you know, the kind of the combining of the old and the new, the modern and the ancient, is really because that's where the magic is, and because so the reason I love human design is because it's the science of differentiation, and it's the science of the aura, and it brings together this wisdom and ancient knowledge of these 5 different modalities, including the information around kind of the stardust and the collective positioning of the planets and all of that, right the way into the here and now and your experience of being human. And I could go more into that, but I'm going to get sidetracked from what I actually wanted to talk about today. And I think that is actually a beautiful way of segueing into the union of what it means to be Maven, the complexity and also simplicity that is required in any given moment. So my business helps misfits, self-selected misfits go from feeling to feeling and moving from misfit, where you feel or we feel othered or different, or like we don't fit in or belong, or like we are a misfit, a square peg in a round hole, where our operating system doesn't match others, where our way of seeing the world is not in alignment with the norm, to Maven, where we become an expert by experience, where we claim ourselves, where we claim who we are and our lineage and ancestry, both backwards and forwards, where we become someone who is able to hold more than one truth in the palm of their hand. And that really means being in equanimity in any moment in life. And being in equanimity in any moment in life means being able to hold the duality of a spectrum. And one of those spectrums is the spectrum of complex and simple. And as a ADHDer, so someone who operates both in the paradigm of ADHD and in the paradigm of what was at some point Asperger's and is also known as atypical ASD, the combination of those two things means that in order for me to center myself in equanimity, there is a piece of needing to hold both the complex and the simple in union that has not been easy for me, and is a huge part of the work that I do and share in the world as part of my be in your own value filter and then share your experience for the greater and higher good of all, right? So prior to this sacrosanct life, which has been 2 seasons of really attempting to look at what is sacred and to look at the joy and to look at the orientation with which we come at life and to understand that all of it is sacred, hallowed, and valuable and important if we choose to make it that way. Prior to that, I had a podcast called Adulting with Ebonie, and that ran for 3 years. I think there's, I can't remember, but somewhere between 200 and 300 episodes. You can still search for them. You can still listen to them on Spotify and on Apple and on Google across the world. I don't have ownership of them anymore because I let the domain go and I let the hosting go, but in a very like, this is the end of this kind of a way. But that came from a place of not feeling adult enough, like not feeling like the adultiest adult in the room, and feeling like there were a lot of kind of basics of adulting that I didn't get or didn't understand, at the same time as having felt like an adult since I was about 2. And as a 5'2" profile in human design, one of the biggest pieces of deconditioning and embodiment that I have needed to go on and have really been working with and experienced multiple tower card moments as a result of, or as an opportunity to calibrate, is the not letting myself be put on a pedestal, not being the kind of hero, not overdoing my scope, not trying to help everybody. And the Adulting with Ebonie podcast came at a time where in some ways I was unconsciously looking to be a parental figure, and not even looking to be, but ended up archetypally playing the mother for a lot of people, particularly inside what was the M2M community at that time. And letting go of adulting and stepping into sacrosanct was a really big, important initiation for me. And in the year that I have been hosting this Sacrosanct Life, it has been, I've loved every single conversation, and I want for them to stay, and they will stay on the RSS feed and inside the podcast in some area, in some way. So you will still always be able to listen to them. That is my intention. And at the end of this episode, we will take a short hiatus and then come back around the middle of July. I'll confirm the dates afterwards. And we will be coming back with a synthesis podcast, or I will be coming back with a synthesis podcast with support from Kelly. And I don't do all of this podcast on my own because I do allow support into my life at this point. So the new podcast will be called AWE, which is Adulting with Ebonie. And for me, calling it Adulting with Ebonie is really stepping into this place of, what do we get to do in order to be in awe of this life as a healthy, responsible, embodied, empowered, fully expressed adult? And that is what I want to continue exploring. And so you will continue to get guests from me. I would also like to do some more solos because I know that you guys love them, and I find them infinitely more difficult than chatting to a guest. I love the conversations that I have with my guests, and I know that you guys want more of me talking about different subjects. So I will do those solos if you engage with me and send me questions and things that you would love me to talk on, because I love to respond and I love to talk deeper and I love to find allegory and I love to do the pieces that give you a different perspective on a topic. So moving forward, we will go into Adulting with Ebonie, the podcast, and then what has been Sacrosanct Secrets will just be the patron part of the podcast. And I will continue to do extra bits that are patron only with my guests, and also some stuff that is patron only solo episodes as well. And they will be free for those of you inside the Maven Haven, and they will be £5 a month for those of you that would like to support the podcast in that way. And let me know, some people do a thing where they speak out their names of their patrons at the beginning of the podcast, or they publish them. I'm really happy to do those kind of things. I don't know whether it's interesting to you. So if there are any other patron perks that you would like for me to include, let me know. What else do I want to say? So I want to touch on a couple of this piece, or one of the pieces of duality that I spoke to earlier. So one of the pieces of duality is holding complex and simple. And I have not known. So one of the things that happens when people come to work with me is they often say, I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I didn't know that I needed what I got from this. And that's particularly true for VIP days, but it's true for all of it, right? Like, we don't know what it is that we didn't know that we needed. And once we have it, we're like, wow, I didn't realize I was missing this whole huge part of my life. And for me, where that shows up is that I am pretty adept at the complex stuff. In fact, a lot of things that are very complicated to other people are very simple to me, and I can see the patterns in them, and there's very clear there are very clear delineations and shapes and things that make stuff simple to me. Some of the stuff that I understand that other people find very simple is totally alien to me. And getting my diagnosis, at 42, which was the perfect time. And at some point, I'm going to talk about my experience with meds, because I have for the last 10 days or so been trialing meds for my ADHD, and I haven't been sharing with anybody what that experience is like, but I have been keeping a video diary so that I can share it with you. One of the things that I believe is a symptom of my neurodivergence is this inability to even see the simple things. One might say the fundamentals. And one of the other things that I've really struggled with is positioning and marketing the fundamentals, which is my signature program. It's what takes you from A to R. It is the 8 pillars of practice that make up the Misfit to Maven way. And it is a huge, huge part of the transformation that you get to experience for yourself if you come into my world. So the first piece is the compass, is your value filter. And if you sign up for the fundamentals, you get that as part of it. If you buy the value filter and then you decide that you want to upgrade to the fundamentals, then there is an opportunity to get that credited back, because it's only fair. But the fundamentals, I want you to really know, it isn't the basics. It isn't dumb. It isn't, for those of you who are like, I'm way too clever to do the fundamentals. Yeah, me too, kid, me too. The fundamentals are those missing pieces. Like, it's also for all of you that are manifesting generators like me, who skip steps, who run ahead, who want to get to the good stuff. and then don't realize that you've missed some of the fundamentals, this is the opportunity. Like the fundamentals and the way that I've laid it out and the stuff in there is your way of coming back to those bits and having them fit in so that everything else can expand, because ultimately we need a solid foundation on which to build. If we don't have that solid foundation, when we build, at some point it's out of alignment, it gets to be, it's a little wonky and it all falls down. And that has happened many times for me. And that's okay, because we just get up again and we rebuild. And that's part of being a manifesting generator. It's part of being human. It's part of being an entrepreneur. All of those things are fine. But eventually you reach a point where you would like to be in alignment and build and create, and to have that be solid and to feel a sense of stability and to feel safe. And what it is that the Misfit to Maven way and the 8 pillars of practice that make up the fundamentals really does is give you the perfect Goldilocks amount of structure, or it gives you a guidelines and a framework to find your own Goldilocks amount of structure, the right amount of doing and being, the right amount of soft and hard, the right amount of masculine and feminine, the right amount of cheerlead and challenge, the right amount of accountability and acknowledgement. All of those things are inside the fundamentals. So really, I wanted to touch on that as well, because one of the things that you may, if you've been in my world a little while, or if you hang around, you might start to see is some very subtle shifts in the way that I share the roadmap of the work that you can do with me. And part of that is because I want to simplify so that you know which piece you get to do next without feeling overwhelmed. And I personally prefer to see all of the options and then pick for myself. I think it's the manifestor in me. Most of my people, it turns out, would like some guidance. They might like it, do you want to do this or this, but they want some guidance so you don't want to be overwhelmed. So I am looking at really creating a map or a framework or some signposts that allow you to see the order of the programs and get you so that you can come and engage in my work in a way that really makes sense. And I'm sharing this because I want you to know, for me, as somebody who struggles with complicated versus simple, I have found this really difficult. Either way, you want to start with your compass and then move on to your map. So the value filter and then the fundamentals. Beyond that, there are opportunities for deep diving into different parts. And so your thing, sure thing, looks at confidence in a really big way. Aligned and expressed goes deeper into communication and your value filter and the energetics of your value filter, and really allowing you to own your magic and your unique communication style to have more intimacy in your life, particularly, and more resource. And then the Full of Yourself is coming soon, and that will be an advanced program, and you will need prerequisites in order to come into that program. You will need either to have done the fundamentals and or to have passed an assessment that is at the end of the fundamentals, so that I know that you've got the solid foundation on which to go deeper. There are always bespoke one-to-one options available for me. And the community call, which I hold on the first Tuesday of every month, is an opportunity for you to come and get coached by me, to ask questions from me, to be in community with other people, to talk about the concepts, to understand it all better. And so if you're doing the fundamentals, or you're doing the value filter, or you have any other side quest of my programs or classes, or you've got access to the vault, or there are all sorts of other things that are kind of on a secret menu, or you want to know about the secret menu, come to a community call, because that's where you get to engage with me and I can share more with you. So I think that that is everything that I want to cover in today's episode. Really just wrapping up everything that we have done in these 2 seasons of This Sacrosanct Life, and really hope that you've enjoyed the different ways that we have looked at intimacy, that we've looked at love, that we've looked at being different, we've looked at your uniqueness. And I will continue to talk about these particular themes properly around empowerment, embodiment, and full self-expression as an adult in awe of having a human experience. And if you want to take this a little bit deeper with me, then come and join me for the patron part of the podcast, the last episode of Sacrosanct Secrets, before it moves into being just the patron part of the podcast. Thank you.